President Trump signing an executive order to speed up the research and review of psychedelic drugs that are used to treat mental health, specifically for American veterans who may be suffering from depression and PTSD. The Food and Drug Administration will issue national priority vouchers for 3 types of psychedelics, cutting the review time from several months to just a few weeks.
President Trump signed an interesting executive order intended to speed up access to medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs.
Has signed an executive order loosening restrictions on psychedelic drugs. The order is intended to accelerate research into the therapeutic benefits of LSD, ecstasy, and other mind-altering drugs. And some experts believe the compounds can be used to treat conditions like PTSD, depression, and addiction.
Signed an executive order over the weekend aimed at easing research restrictions on psychedelics. Now, this move reflects the Trump administration's interest in recasting the federal government's relationship with various substances being pushed by drug reform advocates. Further illustrating this, back in December, President Trump signed an EO to expedite and complete the process of reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug.
The president said the federal government will invest $50 million in research. The order eases restrictions on studies of psychedelics, including ibogaine, a drug used in some countries to treat post-traumatic stress disorder.
Content presented in Cheshire Corners is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a legal professional if you have any questions or concerns about the content of this disclaimer, this series, or the legal implications surrounding psychedelic substances in your jurisdiction.
Welcome to Cheshire Corners. I'm the AI clone of Rita Salyuk, your host as we trip through the looking glass. All right, so this is kind of a big deal. President Donald Trump has just signed an executive order that could seriously change how psychedelics are handled in the U.S. For decades, psychedelics have lived in the shadows of American policy, filed away under Schedule I status, labeled as having no medical use and a high potential for abuse. From indigenous ceremonial use to the counterculture of the 60s, to quietly resurfacing in modern clinical trials, psychedelics have always existed in this strange space between taboo and high potential. This is not legalization. But the order accelerates research and puts $50 million in federal funding towards studying psychedelic compounds, substances that until recently were nearly impossible to study without jumping through layers of bureaucracy.
Federal prohibition of psychedelic medicine in America is over. On the 250th year of our nation's founding, everyone who has fought for this day through decades of monumental struggle, sacrifice, and suffering can now declare a seminal victory for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, rights we bear as images of our eternal Creator, whose essence is almighty, eternal, unconditional love for each and every one of us. This is the end of the beginning. We have moved mountains, yet there are mountains to move. Government systems which have relentlessly suppressed psychedelics are the same systems which will now manage their emergence. We dare not let our guard down for 1 second and be hair trigger ready to impose accountability for incompetence, obstruction, or failure. Credit belongs where credit is due. With this executive order, President Trump has delivered an epic victory for all humanity. I thank him for having the courage to make this happen, and my mission brother, Joe Rogan, for having the spine to make the ask. To our brothers and sisters in Gabon, you have our deepest gratitude for your stewardship of the sacred tree grown for the healing of nations. I will do my best to deliver the respect and honor you deserve for helping heal this nation. It is my joy to deliver these good tidings unto the meek, which will hopefully bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to all who are bound. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It is literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
Marcus?
Yes, sir. To start off, Mr. President, thank you so much for having us in here and doing this. You're going to save a lot of lives with it. I'd like to say how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to go through the program and receive the ibogaine. It absolutely changed my life for the better. I went through a lot of the programs that the veterans are going through, and I always kind of felt like I was a victim coming out of the program. When I came out of this, I felt like I had gotten my life back. That was 5 years ago. I literally lived the best days of my life every single day. I'm so thankful for everybody who's in this room to help out with this. I know this is kind of a new frontier for us, and just the fact that we're taking this kind of slow as smooth as fast, so we're getting it in there so we can test this out so that we don't get ahead of ourselves. I think that's very impactful. I think there's a lot of people out there that need help, not only our veterans, but our civilian population that can benefit from this. And it's going to do great things for our country to get it back on track and open up a lot of doorways and pathways for us to be successful in the future. Thank you for your time.
That's fantastic. So you've done this 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And it's just been a whole different.
Every single day is a better day for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Really.
I can vouch for that.
Oh, come here. Look, this guy's got guts. Come here. This guy's 2 good guys. I didn't realize you were involved in it already. It's the best testament you can have. There's nothing better than that.
There's a small group of us in the House that have been trying to move legislation since I showed up. Mr. Correa, Mr. Bergman, Mr. McCall, Mr. Crenshaw, every year have tried to move legislation. That side of the room is not going to like what I have to say about this. And every year it has all fallen short. Every year it has all fallen short. And it's because of the proverbial roadblocks that are always in the way.
Right. That's right.
Okay, fair assessment. But those members and myself were convicted never to give up, ever. And with this executive order, I'm going to maintain composure, Mr. President. With this executive order, you have broken down those barriers and allowed us, I have all the faith in the world that this will codify and remain forever. So thank you very much for taking care of your service members and your veterans and giving the members that have been working on this for so long a chance. Thank you, sir.
I just want to emphasize this. This is an entire paradigm shift away from a one-day-a-pill model, which has failed so many. And the many who are drug resistant that Joe just spoke to, offers them a way of getting out of that rut. The question now is, can we study why it works to understand it better, to use it better? That's what Jay Bhattacharya is going to do at NIH with major funding support, perhaps some ARPA as well. Marty spoke eloquently about the FDA's accelerated pathway for this. And then we're going to, when we learn more, figure out better ways of getting access to these products through our healthcare system. Thank you, sir. I do want to emphasize this is something that we're still studying, and we have to keep studying. We have to figure out the right way to like make sure we administer it, that it's safe, that we don't just take it for granted. We already know everything, because we don't. And for the NIH and for ARPA-H, we are absolutely committed to making sure that we keep studying it, keep getting the best gold standard science on it. You see here Nora Volkov, who's my National Institute of Drug Abuse director. She's been an absolute hero in just developing scientific, so the commitment for American science to focus on this, and in many ways, it's that scientific advance that brought us to this moment. As Commissioner McCary said, there's stuff that we know, and we can tell it works. We still got to figure out sometimes how it works or why it works. That we got to keep doing, even as we move forward fast.
But it does work.
Some of those, I mean, absolutely. Some of those treatments absolutely work. You can see the testament here. You are.
I'm trying to get the answer, because it either works or it doesn't. I would think that there's been a lot of research already, indirect research, maybe the ultimate research, people that have taken it, because I've spoken to people that have taken it, aside from the trail, both of them. I've spoken to 5 people that
Mr. President,
that had big problems.
Done it 3 times.
Yeah, please.
It fixed my demonic relationship with alcohol. It saved my life, and then it saved my wife. So every day is a blessing. It took about 3 years of. I did it 3 times. It's a different adventure every time. That's not fun.
So without it, you would have had problems.
I did it with. There was a Green Beret, 28-year sergeant major, that told me when we finished, make sure you tell Amber Capone, the CEO of Veterans Explorer Treatment Solutions, that she saved my life, because I was going to kill myself next week. This was my last chance. I had a 28-year veteran tell me that. This works.
Okay, good.
What Robin was talking about, my wife, Amber Capone, is the CEO of our charity Veterans Explorer Treatment Solutions. We had prayed for this day to come 10 years ago when we started the charity. We've been sending veterans outside the country, Joe, that you've been talking about for years, several thousand now, and we said the mission will end once this day happens, so we believe this is a huge step in maybe that the mission goes away and now we have affordable access right here in the U.S.
Well, I love an executive order that says research, 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 because it's ultimately what guides us onto how to optimally do things. And I think that this is what hopefully will start to happen, and bringing up change in a system that has been very difficult to modify because of prior experiences. These drugs have unique characteristics that could actually, if we don't investigate them, can bring us into potential applications that currently we're not thinking about. But if we close the door to science, if we close the door to data, we'll just keep on doing the same thing again.
Do you think the door was?
It was hard. It was hard to do research.
It's very, very hard, and it's actually just by scaling as a one, it makes it very difficult.
This is a big move. Then it is going to have.
It will facilitate
bigger
research.
than just this one thing that we're talking about. Yeah.
Mr. President, this is a much-needed, bold move for precision mental health for our veterans and others, and accelerates access to personalized, targeted treatments. As you have heard, many veterans and others experiencing mental health disorders, they go through up to years of trial and error, trying one treatment that doesn't work, trying another and not knowing why. My work at Stanford and with my colleagues is to develop brain-based tests that can be measured right now in our VA and other locations that help us understand why these new treatments work and who they'll be most effective for. So with your mandate, we are in a position to really accelerate saving lives of many more people and getting them well sooner. And I believe that with this, the United States will be the first country in the world to treat mental health like we do cancer and like we do many other chronic mental illnesses.
The world is actually watching this, because there are a lot of countries that want to do this and they haven't been able to. They're going to be following suit very, very strongly. Thank you very much, both.
Mr. President, thank you. This treatment saved my life as well, and so many fellow veterans. Helped me get off opiates, stop using a nerve stimulator I had implanted, sleep for the first time in over 10 years. So thank you.
And you have no doubt, right?
Zero.
We're talking about people with treatment-resistant depression, veterans with severe PTSD, individuals struggling with addiction finding relief in places where conventional medicine came up short. So what this executive order actually does is make it easier to ask the question, what are these substances really capable of? It tells federal agencies to cut through the red tape, speed up clinical trials, and make it less of a bureaucratic maze for scientists trying to study this space.
Today, I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. You know, the suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan. And he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay. And it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately. And that's what happened. This has probably never been anything happened so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as well as FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Congressman Morgan Luttrell, retired U.S. Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, Joe Rogan, who directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. They're very much being discussed. And it's one of the hottest things I think you're talking about, Hans, right? It's nothing. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact on this country and other countries too. These treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. And the nice part is we're actually doing this early, but it has been going on. Research has been going on for quite some time. But, you know, usually with things like this, nothing ever happens, no matter how the research ends up. But we're changing that. This order will clear away unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, improve data sharing among the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and facilitate fast rescheduling of any psychedelic drugs that become FDA approved. And we think many of them will go very quickly. And you're going to get the rescheduling done, right, please? So will you get the rescheduling done, please? You know, they're slow walking me on rescheduling. Okay, you're going to get it done, right? In 2024 study from Stanford University, 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries underwent, it's called ibogaine treatment. Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, what you said?
Yes.
I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take some. I'll take whatever it takes. I don't have time to be depressed. You know, if you stay busy enough, maybe that works too. That's what I do. In Texas, Republican leaders have already committed $50 million to the ibogaine research, and today the federal government is making a $50 million research investment in its own, and so that was just approved just last night. We're also opening a pathway for ibogaine to be administered to desperately ill patients under the right to try law. That's a law that I started and I got, right to try. Very proud of that. Was done in my first term. And I used to marvel at the fact that people that were terminally ill could not get a drug. They're terminally ill. They're going to die. And the FDA, right, Marty? That's right. Okay. The FDA was protecting them from dying, but they're going to die. And so we have these incredible drugs, and they may work and they may not work, but we wouldn't let anybody get them because they were bad for your health. But these are people that were going to die. And it never made sense to me. So one of the first things I did early in my term, and it was very tough to get, actually, hard to believe. It was very tough with Congress, but they came through, the Republicans came through. And we have something called Right to Try, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. That's if you're terminally ill or very ill, and there is a new drug that is not available because it's going through the process of the FDA, and Marty's cut that process down by 50%. We're down, it used to take 12 years, and now we have it down to 5 or 6 years, and it's one of the most important things that you can do. But if you're terminally ill, and there's a new drug that may work or may not work, but it hasn't been approved yet, you sign a document, and you're not going to hold the country liable. You're not going to hold the drug companies or the insurance companies or anybody liable, and you have the right to try. And what it's done, and nobody wanted it, the insurance companies hated it, even the doctors, they were all afraid of it because they didn't want to be sued. But I took all of the liability out of it. You sign a document, you're not going to sue the doctor, you're not going to sue the hospital, you're not going to sue anybody, including the country. And everybody signs it like immediately. And we have tens of thousands of people on this, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. And what it has done, we never thought of it so much, odds, but what it has done is in some cases, these drugs are working so good, it literally cures people that were terminally ill. But it's one of the things I'm most proud. I'm proud of a lot of things we've done, but that's one of the things we're most proud of, Right to Try. But I've always believed in ensuring that the American patients have access to breakthrough treatments and therapies with love for our veterans. And I have real love for our veterans. I was with a group yesterday. It's incredible what they've gone through. And care for American patients. Today's order will ensure that people suffering from debilitating symptoms might finally have a chance to reclaim their lives and lead a happier life. Just lead a happier life.
Supporters see this as long overdue, especially for communities like veterans who've been waiting for better treatment options. So, no, this isn't legalization. But there is a hope, a faint flicker of light in the darkness, a shift in tone. And the real question isn't just what these substances can do, but how many lives can be saved. And honestly, depending on how this plays out, it could have a big impact on the future of mental health treatment in the US. I'm curious to hear what you think in the comments. Is this a good move? Or a $50 million distraction? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Good morning, and thanks to the leadership of President Trump for making this historic day possible. Under the executive order, HHS will accelerate research, approval, and access to new mental health treatments, including psychedelic therapies such as ibogaine. We're taking this decisive step to confront one of the most urgent public health challenges facing our nation, the mental health crisis. More than 14 million Americans live with serious mental illness, and 1 in 4 adults experiences a diagnosable disorder each year. Suicide has risen by more than 30% over the past 2 decades, with another peak in recent years. Among veterans, more than 6,000 die by suicide each year since 2001. We have lost far more veterans to suicide than to combat. At the same time, millions of Americans living with depression, PTSD, addiction, and other conditions do not respond to existing treatments. We owe it to our warfighters and veterans to turn over every stone to alleviate the emotional and mental health blowback from their deployments. It's disturbing to me and to the President that hundreds, in fact thousands of veterans are having to travel to Mexico or other countries to experiment with interventions that hold great promise, but for which our knowledge is still insufficient. This executive order will remove the legal impediments that block American researchers, scientists, physicians, and clinicians from properly studying these medicines, and where appropriate, establishing protocols for their safe therapeutic use. We're directing the FDA to prioritize therapies that have received breakthrough therapy designation, treatments that early evidence suggests may improve what we have today. We're expanding the use of right to try so that eligible patients with treatment-resistant conditions can access these therapies under medical supervision. We're also coordinating with the DEA and the Department of Justice to begin rescheduling reviews after successful phase 3 trials. When the FDA determines a therapy is safe and effective, patients should not face avoidable delays in access. At the same time, HHS will work with states, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and other federal partners to strengthen research and share clinical data. We will use that data to support faster evidence-based decisions. Through ARPA-H, HHS will allocate, as the president says, at least $50 million from existing funds to partner with states that are advancing these therapies. We will support those efforts with funding, with technical assistance and data sharing consistent with applicable law. Researchers at Johns Hopkins, Stanford, and Harvard, and other leading institutions have reported meaningful and, in some cases, extraordinary clinical improvements. If these results continue, these therapies could offer longer-lasting relief, not just symptom management, and reduce economic burden of mental illness, which costs this country hundreds of billions of dollars every year. This policy creates a strict, science-based pathway for FDA approval and controlled medical use. The bottom line is progress in mental health treatment has not matched the scale of the problem.
Marty, please.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, the FDA will issue 3 national priority vouchers for serotonin 2A agonists, also known as psychedelics. Under this new program, in this administration, drugs can get approved in weeks, not a year or a year plus, but in weeks, if they are in line with our national priorities. We have 18 vouchers in the program. We'll be adding 3 more next week. This is an unmet public health need, and there are potentially promising treatments. That's why there's a sense of urgency around this. That's why we're doing it now. The applications are about to come in, so this is the natural, perfect timing for this announcement. For many men and women, they have been fighting battles on the ground. But even after the wars are over, those battles continue in their mind. Now, there are a lot of medications in medicine where we don't know exactly how it works, but we see profound results. If we actually listen to those who experience the therapeutic value, we can learn as a medical field. We just have to listen. The stories of those individuals with dramatic results, that is data. That is scientific data, even from a single individual. We also have randomized controlled trials. And we have to do that because we need to be able to say there's good support when we recommend these therapeutics. If you look at those trials, there's a 30 to 40% remission rate for conditions like PTSD. Otherwise, we got nothing. We have almost nothing for these conditions. And today, the FDA is also announcing the first ibogaine investigational new drug clearance. This will pave the way for the first and ever human trials in the United States. To be clear, the FDA will also have criteria and circumstances that have to be used to administer these drugs. These drugs can have side effects, and so it's not like you go to the pharmacy and pick it up. It's like medications that are administered in an ICU or an operating room. There are criteria for doing it in a controlled setting. Finally, given the urgency of today's mental health crisis, I just want to thank you, Mr. President, and say the FDA is proud to support this broader effort to evaluate new therapeutics for some of the greatest Americans we have in this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. Great job, too. Appreciate it. Okay, it's my honor. Good, that's a good one. Oh, I wanted this work. See that, Joe? No. You think Biden can do that? He can do it. That's why I like live television, actually. It's great because you can't do any cutting.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to Cheshire Corners. Tell me what you think in the comments. And as always, don't get psyched out.